Right guys, how's it going? Welcome back to another video on this channel. We are speaking on the aftermath of Arsenal versus Manchester City in the Premier League title race at the Emirates Stadium, where Manchester City have got themselves back on level points against Arsenal in the Premier League title race with a 3-1 victory courtesy of goals from Kevin De Bruyne, Jack Grealish and the man himself, Erling Braut Haaland, who picks up his 26th goal in the Premier League this season, which is just an absolute fucking joke to be fair. And yeah, guys, let's not get it twisted, because I wonder who's been saying City were going to win the league for weeks, if not months on end now. Couldn't be this guy here, huh? I told every single one of you, and don't get me wrong, I'm speaking like the title race is just over now and it's City's to lose, which is not the case, because if anything, Arsenal still to some extent have it in the grasp of their hands. They do, have that game in hand which could extend their gap over City to 3 points, and obviously there's 15 games left in the season as well. But I just think last night's game showed an element of why I think City will win the league this season, which obviously was down to mainly the experience that they really displayed they had over Arsenal last night at the Emirates Stadium by winning by 3-1, of course, and they played really well. And don't get me wrong, I think Arsenal actually played really well as well. It was actually just the fact that City managed the game really well and took their chances, which Arsenal unfortunately for their sakes didn't manage to do. They had 64% possession, which means that City obviously had 36%, which is the lowest ever possession stat recorded during Pep Guardiola's tenure as Man City manager starting in 2016, which is absolutely insane to be fair, and you have to give Arteta and Arsenal some props for that at the very least. But yeah, like I said, I think the experience showed by City is probably the main reason why I think they will win the league this season. If you look at City's team, they've got experience in terms of winning things all over the bloody pitch. Every single player, bar maybe 4 or 5, is a Premier League champion. And if you look at Arsenal's team, it's the complete opposite. They've got Zinchenko and they've got Gabriel Jesus, who of course have won Premier League titles with Man City in previous years, ironically. Thomas Partey, who's won, La Liga with Atletico Madrid at one point. Jorginho, who's won a Champions League and a Euros with Chelsea and Italy respectively. But if you look at the squad, bar those guys, I think they've got so many young players like Bukayo Saka, Martin Odegaard, Gabriel Martinelli, Aaron Ramsdale, William Saliba, Ben White. So many players who are just not experienced for this fight at the top of a Premier League table in terms of knowing how to navigate through tough games, like we saw against Brentford last weekend, like we saw against Everton the weekend before, and like we saw last night as well, where maybe in my opinion the occasion overall maybe got to these Arsenal players given the lack of experience maybe. And here's the difference between the two teams in my opinion, because I think Arsenal over the last few years have, to almost put it bluntly, kind of believed their own hype in terms of the fact they probably got to a stage mentally where they're thinking, oh my god, we maybe could win the Premier League this season, we're doing so well, we're so close at this stage really. And then on the other hand you have City, who are level on points now and are kind of just going to probably treat it as business as usual. They've been here too many times to count. There's a reason why they've won 4 of the last 5 Premier League titles, and in at least 2 or 3 of those have been in intense title races towards the end of the season. And I just think it's that experience, it's that know-how, it's that ability to navigate through difficult games that will come to the fore for Man City this season, and in my opinion will be the reason they've won the league. And yeah, I've said this for, as I said, weeks if not months on end now. And look, it's nothing against Arsenal, I do dislike them as a football club, but I think they're actually a quite likeable team, and I think I admire what Mikel Arteta has done with that team, given the way that they were when he was getting hounded out really at the end of the 2020-2021 campaign. So I think he's taken them to heights that I don't think any football fan, let alone Arsenal fans, thought he would take them to, so I give him props for that. I just don't think they're ready to win this Premier League title. Like I said, for the experience, I think City will also win it because of their squad depth. I think their depth is absolutely ridiculous. It's a joke in terms of the players they're able to bring off the bench. They've got, 1 if not 2 world-class players in every single position on the pitch essentially. And if you look at Arsenal, obviously Thomas Partey was missing last night, who in my opinion is a humongous miss for them. I know Jorginho came in and didn't put a foot wrong really, but he's no Thomas Partey, it's fair to say, in terms of his importance to this Arsenal team. Gabriel Jesus the same, even though Nketiah has been really good, taking over that mantle from Jesus in recent weeks. I think we saw last night his lack of clinical edge really in front of goal, and maybe a little bit of inexperience in front of goal as well at this high level that I think Jesus would have offered you. So I think that those are 2 examples of big misses for Arsenal. And I think just in terms of that second half of the season dog that City just seem to possess every single season, every single time a title race is shifting against their favour. We saw that especially in 2018-19 when they were up against Liverpool, where I think Liverpool going into the turn of the new year in 2019 had between 8 and 10 points of a gap in the Premier League title race, and City ended up just stringing together this unbelievably insane run of results for the second half of the season, and of course ended up pipping Liverpool to the title on the last day with a 4-1 win at the Amex. And I just think a similar thing will happen this season. As I said, I keep mentioning the word experience. That seems to be the buzzword today in today's video, but I just think it's such an important factor in this title race, just given how much time City have been there and done it in this position. And I think the siege mentality almost that Pep Guardiola has fed into these City fans and players in terms of, you know, with the whole FFP thing, when he came out and he could have easily said, when reporters were asking him about the troubles with FFP, he could have easily come out and just been like, you know what, it's the owner's problem to deal with, it's not mine, I won't comment on the situation. But he came out and he strongly said, I have never been more determined to manage this Manchester City side in my life, which will feed down to the players, almost like an us against the world mentality, and, you know, will give the players and the fans especially as well this will to almost say f you to everyone, you know. And I think that was absolutely brilliant from Pep Guardiola to come out and do that, and that's why I think City will have almost this underdogs mentality, which definitely should not be the case given the money they've spent, don't get me wrong, but I think that's the image that Guardiola has kind of created with this City team and the fans at this moment in time. And I think we've seen as well in recent weeks an element of Arsenal maybe tensing up and freezing in this title race. Like I said, it could have been a case a few weeks ago where they were looking at it and going, you know, looking at the Premier League table and just thinking, oh my god, we might actually win the league this season, and then they go and lose to Everton at Goodison Park. But I'll cut them some slack for that one, because I said in that video I did on that game, you know, Sean Dyche coming in, brilliant manager, new manager bounce at Goodison Park in a ground where they already have a very poor record, so we'll let that one slide. Then you go into last weekend where they play Brentford at home, draw 1-1, probably robbed of 3 points to be fair with the offside decision, or if not probably, most definitely were robbed of 3 points. But then you can see, you know, Brentford, very good team, very resolute, organised, hard to break down. And then you go into last night's game where, you know, they lose to, you know, the team that they're competing for the league with, and probably one of the best teams pound for pound in the world over the last few years, if not the best. But on the whole, of course, it is 3 games without a victory now in the Premier League for Arsenal, which does, you know, hint at an element of tensing up in this title race, which again is probably another reason why I was so confident that City would win the league, because I did feel that Arsenal would eventually get to this point, even, you know, throughout how well they were doing at the start of the season, or for the first half of the season anyway. And look, Arsenal fans, before I end this video, I just want to say this, you know, I'm not even being patronising when I say this. Second place is not a horrendous achievement and not something you should be ashamed of whatsoever, especially given the expectations you had at the start of the season, because I think top 4 was probably what you were going for as a club inside. But yeah, I'd still look at the team with immense amounts of pride, to be fair, especially given how well Mikel Arteta has done at Arsenal over the years. Like I said, given where they were in that 2020-2021 campaign where, you know, he was getting hounded out every single week, and now he's got you dreaming of a Premier League title within 2 years. So I don't think it's, you know, any shame whatsoever, especially going up against this animal in Man City, like I've said in this video. So it's no shame in my opinion, once again, finishing second to this absolute animal in Man City in title races. And, you know, like I say as well, you've got a very young squad with some very good young players with unbelievable potential, so who's to say you can't go out and do the same next season? Or I think it'll be a lot more difficult because the likes of Newcastle, who are going to get a lot better under their new ownership, I think Chelsea will be probably back there at some point, hopefully, if we get our shit together. Liverpool will probably be back at some stage. United obviously grown under Eric Ten Hag every single week and will probably improve as they strengthen in the transfer window, but Arsenal should be there and thereabouts now, especially with the fact they're probably going to be able to attract more players in the next few years now, with how well they've done this season and under Arteta in general. So yeah, it's not a bad season whatsoever by, you know, Mikel Arteta and Arsenal, and to be honest, I think even if Arsenal get anywhere close to winning the league this season, I think Arteta still deserves manager of the season, just because of how much he's defied expectations as Arsenal manager this season. But yeah, City fans, Arsenal fans, and every other fan as well, of course, leave it down in the comment section below. Have I hit the nail on the head with this one, or am I talking absolute shit? And yeah, leave a like on the video if you did enjoy. It would be massively appreciated, and also if you could subscribe to the channel as well, that would be massively appreciated. We are looking to hit 2,000 subscribers on this channel as soon as we possibly can, so every single one of you that hits that subscribe button is helping me out massively and get to that goal as soon as possible. And yeah, I'll see you guys in my next video.